Can you see the slides, Joe and Marcia?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming this morning. As I had mentioned, we're going to try to move through this as quick as possible. This is very much an overview of the faculty-related processes that occur here at MSU Denver throughout the course of an academic year. So in the past, we've done workshops for committee chairs to kind of walk them through the process, but Kath and I and Tracy kind of realized it's probably best for as many of our deans and associate deans, department chairs, program managers, et cetera, to understand the processes, because different departments have different responsibilities depending upon who's pulling what from Watermark and who's recording what in whatever SharePoint. And so I kind of want to kick things off here. Let me get my agenda up with some brief introductions. All right, so I guess let's go through this. Here's what we're going to cover, and then I'll do introductions. Apologies. So we'll talk about the procedural calendar and some automated reminders that we set up and how you might be able to access those. And the processes we're going to discuss: provost mini grants, the various levels of faculty review, sabbatical applications, department guidelines changes, transitional retirement and emeritus status. And then we're going to leave about 30 minutes at the end to cover some things that Kath and I had discussed that are not on these slides, okay? So first, let's do some introductions, because some of you are new faces, some of you I do not know. Yes, sir, David? It is, yes. But it's not, if you're a faculty member, this is not for you. This is, yes, you're free to go back to instructional design or engineering, or sorry, yeah, did I say that right? Industrial design, not instructional design. Yes, no worries, Dave. Yeah, get a bagel, yes. Hi, everybody. Sam J., Director of Faculty Affairs, as well as the Executive Director of a really long title. So you probably get a lot of random emails from me. But Kath and I work together closely with Tracy to basically oversee all of the faculty-related processes here at MSU Denver. I've been here for 14 years, and Kath, you've been here for 2 almost, right? So with that, Kath, would you like to introduce yourself?
Morning, everyone. Kath Clare, AVP for Faculty Affairs. I know most of you. I'm actually, it's 19 months that I've been here. So really just trying to help everyone understand what Sam and I both do, and to help you understand some new things happening in Faculty Affairs this year. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tracy Hasselt, and I'm the Program Manager for Faculty Affairs. I've been with MSU Denver for 4 years, and I've worn several different hats. I've been an advisor. I've also worked as a Program Manager in the engineering department before coming here.
Lynn, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm the Dean of the School of Hospitality, and I've been here 3 months.
Yeah, good morning. Eric Olson, Chair of the Rita Nevin DeMond Department of Hotel Management in the School of Hospitality. I'm starting my 4th year.
Brooke Evans. I'm Associate Dean in ACE, and I have been here for 19 years.
I'm Steve Beatty, interim chair. I'm interim dean. Takes me back. Of CAST. I've been here for 27 years and in a wide variety of different positions.
Hi, Gretchen Rose. I'm the executive assistant to the dean of CAST. Been here since last fall.
I'm Lori Darnell, the associate chair of the social work department, and I think I'm on year 12. About
over a decade.
Ethan Waples, Associate Dean, College of Business, and starting my 3rd year.
Jeff Newcomer, Interim Deputy Provost. I was hired as the Dean of ACE, and I've been here just over a year.
Hi, Maria Bracamontes. I'm from World Languages, and I've been here almost 10 years.
Just a little tap, tap, tap.
Oh, hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Nettie Rodriguez-Arauz. I'm Associate Director for the Gender Institute for Teaching and Advocacy, home of the Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies Department. I've been here for 15 years, both in a faculty and admin role.
Rachel Sinley, Associate Dean of CHHS. Been at Metro for 8 years, but just starting this new role.
Hi, everybody. I'm Hope Sapolsky, Dean of the College of Health and Human Sciences, and I've been at MSU Denver for 13 years.
Oh, there we go. Too fast. Wow. Okay, so first and foremost, talk about the procedural calendar. For those of you who are new, the procedural calendar is basically the operational calendar for everything academic affairs. So everything from sabbatical applications and review steps to faculty review, changes to curriculum, all of that stuff is in the procedural calendar. There is a downloadable shared calendar on that site. So that's our basic faculty affairs site. Tracy did a really good job of kind of reorganizing everything for this year. So if you go to our hamburger menu, all of the information you're going to need is very, very well labeled, and it's very clear to get to, and you should be able to access it. Okay. So in that hamburger menu, you'll see a link for procedural calendar. You'll get there. You have the opportunity to look at it by category or by date. And then I mentioned the shared calendar. So it's a .ics file that you can download and integrate into Canvas, or not into Canvas, excuse me, into Outlook if you're looking to just get automated reminders on your phone or your Outlook every morning about what happens. There is one specific to deans, and there's one specific to chairs as well. So department coordinators, program managers, if you wanted to download those and add them to your own, go for it. That's a nice way to kind of remind yourself of what to do. The other option is we just created an MS Planner for us. And so we, faculty affairs, so Kath, Tracy, and I, get automated reminders 1 week prior to various deadlines. If there's stuff that we have to do, we get reminders. There were a couple of chairs that asked for the same thing last week at our chairs retreat. So we now have a chairs planner. So what that means, if you as a whatever capacity you want, if you want to know when things are due, if you're a chair, if you're a dean, if you're an associate dean, you have those responsibilities, shoot me an email and I'll get you added to our planner. All that is, again, is just an automated reminder. Ethan, 1 week from now, this is due. Okay, so it's just a way to kind of keep everybody on task and make sure that you have the support that you need to remember how to do all of this stuff. But again, the procedure calendar is relatively straightforward. We did have one thing this year that is relevant to chairs, to deans, to anybody, I suppose, in this room. In the past, we have not necessarily done a really good job of tracking when somebody gets hired with years towards tenure. We don't track that very well. We've kind of left it to HR and realized that maybe faculty affairs should be tracking it as well. So we added some dates in there for just offices of dean's offices, basically to send us a list towards the end of the spring. I think early in the spring, then again at the end of the spring, depending on when you hired somebody, if they have years towards tenure, because Tracy and I just want to track that. We want to make sure that our records are accurate, even if maybe they're not accurate in Workday. To be totally frank, we are doing a lot of work to make sure that all faculty records are accurate within the Office of Faculty Affairs SharePoint, so our database, because we've kind of taken on ourselves as we're the data of record, right? We're the source of record for that. So if you are hiring somebody who's coming in with tenure towards or credit towards tenure, just keep track of that and you'll let us know. If you're hiring somebody who is coming in as administrator and there's a tenure upon appointment agreement that is made, you'll want to let us know about that as well. There are some dates in the procedural calendar to remind you, but all of you are more than welcome to just tell us when it happens. You don't have to wait until those dates because Tracy's tracking it in our spreadsheets and we've got a pretty good record of when that happens. For tenure upon appointment, it's important because we just want to make sure that we get the right letters together for the Board of Trustees, because ultimately the Board of Trustees has to sign off on tenure upon appointment. I know that some of you, Jeff Newcomer and one, Kath Clyer and other, you have been here for a long time and you just got your tenure upon appointment letter. So congratulations. Yes, we're really glad that you served us without tenure for a while. So that's the procedural calendar. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
In terms of the compensation for that?
So this is relevant for deans, but I think most of you know this. We're trying to catalog all of the people who have some form of retreat line and what promises were made, if any, about that retreat line salary upon hire. And once we have a complete picture of that, then we will try to set some policy so that there's some clarity in terms of how things are done going forward, because essentially what's happened so far is that it's pretty much been every provost kind of sets the stage, assuming that there was no stage set before it. And that's not a great way to do business. We also don't actually have a catalog of our complete retreat liability. So I will come and bug some of you for details about that at some point. I'm still waiting to hear back from HR.
Yet another thing not tracked. So thank you, Jeff. Okay, so faculty-related processes. I'll spend a second on this. As you know, all of the faculty reviews occur through Watermark. Used to be Digital Measures, now it's Watermark. All of the supporting documents for how to use Watermark are on this site. So if you go to Faculty Affairs site, you click on the hamburger, you'll see Watermark, click on that. Bunch of guides on how to use Watermark, whether you're a faculty member who's putting in their portfolio, whether you're a dean doing review or a chair. The big thing for this particular conversation is that each summer we go in and we clear out all of the Watermark access unless you're a dean or a chair. Okay, so whoever was chairing a committee in the previous academic year, they lose access to those faculty, the faculty they were reviewing their Watermark portfolios. We then have to go through and reestablish that access. Last year, because of several things that happened across colleges, Tracy and I, for the most part, granted that access. We are asking that our associate deans in particular handle that access this year, right? So I'm looking at Katia, I'm looking at Ethan. If you have, this is your responsibility as an associate dean. All of the chairs of the department level committees for retention, tenure, and promotion and post-tenure review, you will have to get that information and grant access to the faculty who are up for review within Watermark, okay? It is then the responsibility of the committee chair to pull down all of the portfolio elements or materials and share those with their committee. Those materials Tracy now pulls down from Watermark. And so what we've been doing over the last couple of years is we just grant access to our SharePoint for those committee members. That way they don't have to worry too much about how do I pull this from Watermark. They will have to go into Watermark to put the recommendation for tenure promotion or post-tenure review or promotion, all those things. That happens in Watermark, as does the letters of support for whatever area or level of review. But just so you know, associate deans in particular, and Gretchen, this could be you too, it is the responsibility of the dean's offices to grant the access to department level committee chairs, as well as to the college or school level committee chair for those things. If you have issues, of course, we're here to support you, we can assist, but it is the responsibility for you to gather that information and share it out. That also reminds me, there was some confusion about the intent to apply form that is now in our procedural calendar. What we have done, because there was oftentimes discrepancies about what guidelines years faculty were using for their review. And so there would be miscommunication between a faculty member and a chair, or a chair and a dean. And so the intent to apply form, which we will ask faculty to do, and we'll send a message out to all faculty. If you're planning to apply for tenure and promotion or promotion this year, it's a really quick form that basically says, here's my name, here's my department, here are the department guidelines years that I'll be using. And then we share that information. We, Tracy, Kath, and I share that with chairs. They review it. Chairs then work with their deans to get dean support, make sure everybody's on board, and then we're set, right? So in our spreadsheet, we know exactly what year a faculty member is using, or what guidelines year a faculty member is using for their review, and we have basically a record, right? We have a record of it, and we understand exactly, we make sure everybody's on the same page, okay? So if you get questions about that, it's not required, right? That was a big thing with Faculty Senate. It was like this, required step in the review process. It's not, it's for us. It's for our record keeping to make sure everybody's on the same page, okay? So they'll be able to find that on the Faculty Affairs site, quick form, fill it out. And then we, Faculty Affairs, gather everything and we share it with our chairs and we say, does this look good to you? It does. All right, then we'll coordinate with the deans and make sure everybody's on board. And then it just kind of goes from there. Sound good? Make sense? Okay. Any questions about this particular component of Watermark access and review? No? I've realized nobody really understands how this works unless you have to do it. Like, yeah. Now, I know more about this than I did 3 years ago. Okay. Oh, shoot. My meme. Damn it. There we go. Okay. Provost mini grants. So procedural calendar talks about provost mini grants and when they're due. We've moved provost mini grants into Watermark as well. We started in spring. For the most part, everybody did it. But basically, this is going to be the way that we track applications for provost mini grants, make sure they jive with our internal records, and then we track a chair and a dean and the search and the provost mini grant review committee, what their recommendation is. And then we have a spot for the provost and academic affairs, faculty affairs as well. So everything is just in there now. Previously, it was just kind of floating around in the ether in the U drive. And so we've tried to be a little bit more thoughtful and communicative, organized, whatever you want to call it, about this. And thank you to Eric Olson, by the way, for chairing the Provost Mini Grant Committee this year. Okay. So just so you know, that's going to happen in there. And so if you have a faculty member who sends you a Provost Mini Grant application, tell them you also need to put this in watermark. Okay, please put it in watermark. It's very clear. They can see it. It's right there. All right. And then we go through and we'll facilitate the process through that. Okay. Go back. Why is this moving so fast? Sorry, everybody. Down. These are the quick sheets or quick hits there for faculty review processes, so you know who does what's expected. The guidebook for portfolio preparation, if you really want it and you need it, I would say print it out, put it on your bulletin board. I think we all three have it somewhere in our office. Those tables are probably the most useful. For the most part, things are pretty straightforward. I will kind of highlight a couple of things here. For lectures and senior lectures, those do not come to the provost level unless someone is requesting a promotion to senior lecturer or they are not retained and they want to be retained. That is only when the provost reviews. We in faculty affairs handle all of that at the end of the year. We manage it. I think there was some confusion about promotion. I don't know why that X is still there. The president no longer reviews promotion. That X should not be there. It stops the provost. So apologies. That stops there. Okay. Other things. What's up? Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I know. The new guidebook does not have that X there. I'm pretty sure. I'll go through and make sure. Let's see. Everything else is pretty straightforward. I think when it comes to this, if you've got a new faculty member, if you want to know more about it, just access the guidebook for portfolio prep on our faculty review site and use that as your resource. So it's a good guide. It kind of walks faculty through in detail exactly what's expected when they submit their review. Any questions about faculty reviews? Yes.
I know this summer we have an updated.
Yes.
Which has the updated.
Yep.
Which I support. Can a faculty member choose which level or year of faculty handbook go up for tenure? We allow the guidelines, but for the faculty handbook.
Yep, I know what you're saying. Absolutely, 100%. Yes. There are discrepancies. There will be discrepancies because the new faculty handbook came out and department guidelines may not match the new faculty handbook in terms of the language around teaching, service, and scholarship, that new language. Kath, what I'll let you chime in.
Yeah, they can come in, they can choose either the present year that they're going up in or the year in which they were hired, but not any year they want. So the year in which they were hired or the present year in which they're going up. For the faculty handbook year, yes. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeff, do you have a question?
Unrelated to that issue. Just wanted, again, deans, associate deans to know that one of the other things, one of the things on my list of stuff that we're not doing a great job of is actually assessing the lecturer, senior lecturer needs before the review process. So just want to give you all a heads up or another heads up that that's coming, that we'll set up a process to kind of review the positions sometime mid-spring semester so that you go into the review processes knowing how many lecture lines you have, and we avoid even the potential for saying, we love you, we want you back. Oh, whoops, sorry, there's no money. Yeah. So, and having to essentially renege on it. So
understood. Thank you. Any other questions about faculty review? All right. Sabbatical applications. Again, sabbatical applications are submitted via watermark. Very clear there. We have, beginning with last year, allowed for faculty to submit a response letter or an appeal letter for their sabbaticals because that is something the provost would like to look at when she considers sabbatical applications. And so if somebody was denied at the level of chair or the level of dean, they are free to submit a response letter or an appeal, and that goes into their larger portfolio that is then reviewed by the provost prior to those final decisions being made. But for the most part, nothing has changed when it comes to sabbatical applications. We don't know what our budget is yet because somebody's going to ask, I'm sure. We're working on that. And I can assure you, with Jeff and with Laura, keeping this top of mind, we will have more information to you prior to one day after the deadline. So I can assure you of that. All right. Promise. So we'll let everybody know, and we'll let deans and chairs know when that comes. Okay. It's part of a larger kind of faculty affairs budgetary experiment that we are trying. So sabbatical is pretty straightforward. There's my meme. Okay, so department guidelines changes. For the most part, all of you have done a really good job of using this form to submit changes. All this is, again, it's available on our site. When you have a department that would like to have some changes made, it allows us to collate and to organize the justifications for those changes. So that way, when Kath and I meet with the provost and with the deputy provost, we have some understanding of why a particular change is being requested. This is also one of those kind of triggers towards critical thinking for departments because, as you know, we change a lot of things and sometimes those things don't need to be changed. So we're trying to get folks to be thoughtful about the changes. And then this becomes the cover sheet now. I don't know if you remember the cover sheet for department guidelines changes, but there used to be a cover sheet that had signatures that would say, all right, it's supported by your chair and by your dean and by the provost. This becomes our cover sheet. When we put them up on our website, we'll just place this on the top of it so that way everybody knows this was supported at all levels for these changes when they go into effect. And so just so you know, to make sure to evaluate, or excuse me, to use this form when departments ask for those changes. They come to us, we manage them. We're kind of a clearinghouse for all of this stuff. So that should be pretty straightforward, I hope. Questions about that?
I will just add that the departmental changes are due to the provost March 1st. So now is the time to encourage your department chairs to start looking because, as Eric noted, the faculty employment handbook has changed. So now is the time to start making those changes so that departmental guidelines are in accordance with the new handbook. There are many exemplars already on. You can see everyone's departmental guidelines. Some of the departments are already very much in line with the faculty employment handbook. School of Education comes to mind, and a few other folks. So you can check that out and just help your department chairs recognize that. Also, in the faculty employment handbook, it says that the deans are supposed to get the department heads of their college together to review all of the department guideline changes each year. That is supposed to, I don't know if that is your practice in your colleges, but that is supposed to happen as per faculty employment handbook guidelines. So that needs to happen, of course, before March 1st, before the provost gets that. So if that's not on your list of things to do between now and say January or February, please make it so. And I will bring this up again at our next sort of provost leadership meeting. But just thought I'd get that on your radar. Thanks.
Comments, questions before I go to the next slide? Thank you. Thank you for getting that. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I couldn't get the song to work, but yes. All right. So I guess two of the other changes that are not necessarily that substantial. just a change in process. Would be transitional retirement and emeritus nominations. I guess transitional retirement isn't really that different. It's the same. This is the form. It's the form we've had for years. Basically, we work with HR, Office of Faculty Affairs works with HR, Amanda Berry specifically, to make sure that transitional retirement agreements are signed, that everybody understands what comes with those agreements, and then that whatever benefit changes occur take place. We had pretty smooth sailing this year. We had one faculty member, but that was because it was a summer. It was some summer conflict, but we ironed it out. And so, just so you know, this is the form that we ask you to submit to us. It's in the procedural calendar when those dates are, but it's just the agreement of how many classes you're planning on teaching and when you'll eventually retire. And those things can be changed. As Hope and Rachel know, I think Kathy Heil's been on transitional retirement for 15 years. So, and she's still here. Yeah, you can't get I don't know what that says about her domestic situation, but the other thing is, okay, so emeritus professor nominations. This form is available on our website. This form is only to be completed by deans, because we're asking deans to be the responsible party for basically collecting all of the letters for support for emeritus and then putting them into one document and submitting it. You've already been doing it. Deans have been doing it. It's just that we're automating things so that way we in the Office of Faculty Affairs know when an application for emeritus has been completed. Last year we had kind of applications going everywhere and they were disorganized, and so we want to kind of bring everything to us so that way we can package them, organize them for the provost and for Jill, her executive assistant, and make sure that when it comes to emeritus nominations, we get the portfolios or the dossiers in front of the Board of Trustees in a timely manner, because we just don't want to wait. And so just so you know, right, those of you who are representing deans or you are deans, we just ask that you use this very, very simple form to upload the dossier for emeritus status, which is the department letter, department chair's letter. It could be kind of together. They just have to note the vote for emeritus status and then the dean's recommendation letter. Okay. And so that is the only significant change when it comes to the emeritus process. Again, this is a way for us to know when somebody gets nominated, and it triggers Kath and Tracy and I to take a look at everything and then start getting things ready for the provost to review and the president to support and the Board of Trustees to sign off on. Other questions about that? I know I'm going by really fast, but I'm assuming you're all really busy. Okay. One slide that I had forgot to add. Access to Canvas courses. Steve and Brooke are here. Brooke and Steve and I had a conversation last week about this. We are working on a larger LMS policy that will take the entire academic year to get completed and signed off on and go through UPAC and all of that stuff. That is not just who can access, it's also about data, because there's a lot of student data, I don't know if you knew this, in Canvas that we're not using that could probably tell us a lot. And so we need to get faculty support, dean support, chair support, all that fun stuff. If you as a dean or a chair, actually we'll start as a chair. If you as a chair need access to a faculty member's Canvas shell, we are just asking that you ask the faculty member for permission. If they say no, for whatever reason that might be, we ask that you go to your dean, have the conversation with your dean, and then share that correspondence or the conclusion of that correspondence with me, so that way I can coordinate access. It happens with grade appeals. And so, for example, there may be a faculty member who's teaching over the summer who is an adjunct who is no longer around and cannot get access, doesn't check their email. And so when Brooke or Steve asks for permission, they can't get it because that faculty member is not responding. So in that case, right, Steve as the dean, we went, Steve provided support. We had it. We go through there. Basically, we're looking for a paper trail. That's what I'm trying to kind of show. That way, in case a faculty member has issues with it, we can show that it's gone through the various levels of review and support, and your dean is aware of this. Obviously, we don't want a chair getting in there and looking and supervising and looking at stuff that is wasting their time, or I think you understand any nefarious kind of panopticonal review of how faculty are performing. But just want to communicate that to faculty if you're getting in there and taking a look. Yes, Brooke.
All right, add one more thing to it.
Yeah.
So another level of awfulness is that what if a faculty member turns theirs off, students can't get back into it either.
Yeah.
So our grade appeal process says you have to provide the evidence, but they can't get to it. But they also don't have the records from the class they took, so they don't have it to use for the next level.
Yep.
So we need to also figure out how to
Turn it
help our
back on.
students
Yeah.
a little bit better as well, just in general.
Yeah.
Like you usually have your notebooks from something
Right.
that you didn't go back to. They can't get into anything. So
Okay.
I don't know what we want to do Canvas wise to support our students.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you have those situations, I think it could follow the same kind of protocol. We can turn it back on if need be. Is that what you're kind of talking about? Once the faculty member shuts down the course, then a student can't access anything in there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But then, but like, even if they just want to reference it for like Calc 1, they want
Yeah.
to look at your old quizzes so you're ready for Calc 2,
Okay.
you can't get back in.
Can't do that. Interesting. Okay. I will jot that down and think about that. I didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah, for sure. Into perpetuity, probably. Okay. Anything about this questions that you all might have?
I'll just add in terms of Canvas too, that is in the faculty employment handbook, that faculty do have to use Canvas. They have the exact languages. They must use our learning management system. So if faculty tell you they don't want to use Canvas or they're not using Canvas, that's not an option anymore. They really need to be using Canvas, even if it's just for the most basic things. Like they need to be using it. And then the second thing I would say that in terms of responsiveness, this is a great thing to put in departmental guidelines. What is the expectation of your department? That faculty respond to students in 1 day, in 2 days, within a week, that graded work is handed back in 1 week or 2 weeks? What are the expectations? And while it may sound prescriptive, it also helps avoid bias. So I would really encourage you and your department chairs to be as clear as possible about the expectations. I mean, I know emergencies happen and things don't, come to fruition the way they should, but it's really nice to know where the guidelines are. Thanks.
All right. So now it's Q&A. All right.
The other reason we wanted to get you together was not to just talk at you, because I know how much you love that, but also to ask you, like, what are some of your goals? What are some of the things that you would like to see for this year? What are some of the problems that you dealt with last year? And not all your problems, please. I mean, like your problems in terms of processes, policies within the university. One thing that Sam and I have been thinking a lot about is our interaction with student affairs and how we can make that happen a little bit better, or at least create the relationships. So one thing we thought about was getting associate deans together a couple times a semester and having an agenda in terms of meeting with different folks in student affairs and just sort of ironing out some of those relationships. And for example, I hear anecdotally from chairs about internships and what is the internship process and how are we doing internships. So this would be a great opportunity for associate deans to meet with Alyssa Marks and the C2 Hub to talk through some of the pain points. I don't want to be responsible for that if you all feel that it is a waste of your time to have meetings once a month with associate deans and student affairs. But if it would be useful, if that, know that. Okay, the floor is for you.
I like you all. That was a fast meeting. What else were we wanted to discuss a few things with them. I got to look at our emails. Should have taken note. Oh, faculty contracts. Maybe that was it. Those should be out today, right?
Realize that faculty contracts have not been available in Workday. That is an HR problem, and they are working on that. So faculty contracts for all your faculty should be available. They should have gone out Friday. Not, maybe they went out today, and they should be available in Workday, ideally. That's what's coming. When it's things about the contract, about compensation, Sam and I are really trying to involve HR and really trying to get HR to handle those things, because that should be all automated and archived and handled through Workday. So when it's more policy kinds of things like tenure appointments, tenure retreat lines, that kind of stuff really should be both HR and faculty affairs. Obviously, all RTP things should be faculty affairs.
Sam, the content that you provide for each level of review, the Canvas shell, is very helpful. So thank you for doing that. Faculty have very good, nice things to say about that. So kudos for doing that. Very helpful.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I just like to see myself on screen. Yeah, so if you got what Eric's talking about, if you have new faculty members who want to have a little bit more of an in-depth understanding of the review processes, we have a faculty affairs Canvas course that covers, there's a module for every level of review, so folks know, and then there's a module for sabbatical reviews and lectures and senior lectures as well. So if you have folks who need some help, I would encourage them to send me an email and I'll get them access, or they can just go into Canvas, I think, and request access via the link. But either way, I'll make sure to get them access. We were trying to get all faculty access to that, but ITS has not found the solution at the moment, but they're also pretty busy. If you want to talk AI, I can come to your department. I'm coming to a bunch of departments. I sent the chairs a bunch of student do's and don'ts. I mean, it's going to happen this week. I know it's going to happen. So I'll send faculty. I'll send a faculty-wide email on Wednesday or Thursday with some supporting documents to assist those conversations with students. Okay. Steve Beatty is nodding his head as the computer science person over there. I don't know what it means. I know it's cool. He's the one who knows how it works. So just so you know, that's happening. Yeah. I mean, it's up to the faculty member to allow, to disallow, to allow some capacity, but they need to be able to communicate that very clearly with their students, exactly what the expectation is. To be totally frank, any of those generative AI detectors that are built into Unicheck, which is in Canvas right now, they're not accurate. So I get really, really scared about students getting pinged for using generative AI when they haven't done it. And so, I mean, ultimately, we really need to rethink assessment, which Sean Schaefer and I are having that discussion right now, and we're doing some listening sessions with chairs around campus. But at the moment, I think transparency is what's the most important. You know, if here's my take, right? Not that anybody asked, but this is not somehow going to recede into the background. You know, it's I don't know if it's at the level of the internet, right? I think the bubble that was AI and foundational models is apparently, according to the markets, burst, but it still remains a tool that is going to be available for completing certain tasks and generating content. And so from my vantage point, if we know that students are going to be expected to use this stuff when they leave our classroom and they go out in the job market, who better to teach them how to use it ethically and responsibly than a PhD or a faculty member? And so it's not going to work in a lot of classes. I have a hard time thinking about how a lab class in chemistry would use generative AI at the moment. But, if you're an English professor and you're trying to think about ways to teach your students how to use this, then it does become very valuable. So that requires a faculty member to actually start using these things. But we've kind of encouraged everybody to use Microsoft Copilot because of the enterprise level user agreement that we have in terms of data sharing. That doesn't mean that I use it because it's not as good as the other ones. So I'll be totally frank. And then, don't plug in a bunch of personal information into the stuff because you don't know where it's going. And OpenAI is not very good at sharing where it's going anymore either. And so you got to be very, very cognizant of that. And then when it comes to particular visual image creation, we lean towards Adobe because our students and our faculty and all of our staff have access to Adobe. The Adobe is suite. And so whatever tools that are built into Adobe Adobe was kind of very clear from the very beginning when it came to generative AI that they protected themselves with a lot of copyright infringement. So we can always lean on what they're doing to kind of cover our asses, if you will, when it comes to that, which is extremely important. I apologize that I have more support for you or more guidance. This stuff is moving very fast, looking into some potential solutions for it. It just takes time. And so I'm trying to put as much information out there to support faculty as possible. It's just taking a little bit of time. Yeah.
So just a question about Canvas.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's in the faculty employment handbook that faculty will use the learning management system.
Yep.
But I do think faculty have those questions about what are the expectations for Canvas, especially if I'm teaching an all in-person course.
Yeah.
I mean, we've told them, you know, to keep the syllabus,
Yep.
you know, all that syllabus content. But I do think that's something that if we're going to continue to say that, to continue to tell all faculty that they need to use
Yeah.
Canvas, I think we need to be clear and ready to answer exactly,
Yeah.
you know, what they need to have in there and how much they need to be in Canvas.
Yes, 100% agree. I think that'll be the work of the LMS. I hate calling it a task force, but that's what it's being called at the moment. To figure out exactly what are the expectations that should go in there. Is it syllabus? Is it grades? Is it, you know, assignment descriptions, all of that stuff. And so that'll be more of a kind of collaborative conversation with faculty and leadership. Good point. Yeah, it's very, very gray area right now.
Ready for a different topic?
Yeah.
Just a heads up for everybody, since you've all got leadership responsibilities and essentially are tone setting, there has already been one message from the president about election season and reminders about election rules in terms of what you can and can't do as a representative of the university, use of university resources, etc. That messaging is going to continue and to increase. And I'm sure there are going to be both situations where people have questions, which is the good part, and where people are pushing boundaries. And I just want to ask that y'all, as leaders, pay attention to what's coming out and try to do the best of asking questions and educating yourself and sending a consistent message when people themselves, faculty especially, staff as well, have questions. And also think about a little bit about how you're going to handle it when somebody crosses a line, because we're going to have a lot of lines crossed this year. And we would really like to minimize that and do our best to essentially allow for, you know, open dialogue and whatnot, but not misuse university resources, not misuse university standing for influence for whatever, doesn't really matter. And we're going to push boundaries as a university in terms of the property tax initiatives, because the Board of Trustees has already taken a stand, but no university employee can take a stand, at least as part of their university position. So there's also quite a bit of concern about use of social media on campus. So that's another thing that you might want to pay a little bit more attention to than you may normally do. So, and I'm happy to take questions, although I'm not sure I can provide many answers.
Is there going to be a list for us to have? Is there something that's going to be published?
There probably will be something published. Like I said, there's already been one message from, I think it was the president. The expectation is the provost will be sending out some messaging starting probably next week, and then we'll see about building some resources for people to try to eliminate as much of the grayness as possible. But essentially, you can't use any university resources or your university standing to advocate for anything, essentially. For it, against it, doesn't matter what it is, which side it is. So, and that's going to be especially challenging this year.
And can you elaborate on what anything means in this context?
Anything political, anything that's on a ballot, essentially.
Okay.
So if it doesn't matter if it's a state level initiative, somebody running for office at any level, essentially, we're not allowed to use state resources to advocate for anything that's a voting decision, and we're not allowed to use our standing as state. So, for example, Whether you realize it or not, as a faculty member in front of a group of students, you have a cachet. And if you start saying things about this is good or that is bad or whatever, it's going to carry weight with your students in a way that has crossed the line. If you go home and you put it on your own personal social media accounts and you say the exact same things, that's completely fine. That's free speech. But using your university position to advocate for or against something is not okay. So.
I think I'll just say it again. The three of us are here to support you in whatever ways you need, right? We know the handbook for the most part, inside and out. Our data is pretty accurate. We're continuing to clean it up, but if you're stuck, if you have a problem and you cannot find a solution, then just reach out to us. That's what we're here to help. That's why we're here to help. I guess one thing I would say, because Jeff had kind of mentioned that it's going to be an interesting year. If you do have faculty members who are crossing the line about anything, it's extremely important for us to have a record of it. So what I mean by that is, as a chair or an associate dean or a dean, if this is, if you're saying, Ethan Wapples has been a very, very terrible faculty member for all of these years, but all I have is this last email that he sent me, there's not much Kath and I can do, right? We need to have a record of how terrible Ethan is. And we know, right? Obviously. But the point being, keep your receipts when it comes to this. And few and far between that we have faculty members like this, right? Very, very, very. We didn't have that much this year. It was great. It was an easy year, okay? But just so you know, you can't just come to us and say, hey, this is the first time we had the problem. So go ahead, Kath.
Just going to say too, don't just keep all your receipts without ever having talked to your faculty member. That is also not a good look when the faculty member's like, I had no idea. No one ever talked to me about this. So I'm not saying you need to do all of this on your own, but that first discussion, hey, Ethan, you're really supposed to show up on time. You need to get the graded work back within 2 weeks as per our departmental guidelines, and then a quick follow-up in an email. That doesn't need to follow all of the appropriate minor sanction rules. But after that first conversation, if it's serious, if you're upset about it, if it's affecting your department morale, it's time to go through the faculty handbook and start minor sanction procedure, which is, hey, Ethan, we had a discussion about this. You're still showing up an hour late to your hour-long class. You're still not turning the work back. I'm giving you a minor sanction. This is going in your record. And then you take it from there. So we have policies and procedures for a reason, but please have that first conversation. I know it's tough. Nobody likes to criticize others. Nobody likes to get bad news. We're here to help you. Your deans are here to help you. Please have that conversation. Please encourage your department chairs to have that conversation. It's also just like the nice and correct and right thing to do, to talk to people. And that's sometimes hard for department chairs. So please coach your department chairs to do that, because a good departmental culture is how we keep faculty, and a bad departmental culture is how we lose faculty. So yeah, Brooke.
Kind of related to that, but kind of. So is there a way there could be a place set up so that as chairs change, we know that this chair has had a conversation or 2 or 3 or 5 or 7, but then the chair changes and then nothing gets turned over, then it all starts over again, and then we just start the cycle and nothing happens. So is there a way to have a place to keep these things so that they just don't go away, so these faculty just have to wait 3 years and I'm free again, so how do we, and vice versa, whatever it is, we need a place where these memories are longer.
Yeah, and that place is SharePoint, and you can have a department chair's SharePoint. You could have a department SharePoint at the dean's level. I know many departments have their own sort of department level SharePoint, but you can have your college level SharePoint where you're sharing a lot of that. We don't necessarily need that stuff to go into HR records, right? When it's just email conversations and we're not following official procedure, that doesn't need to go in there. But we also don't want tons of informal email like that in a SharePoint because that's also not following procedure because we need to follow our policies. But I hear you, and I think college level SharePoint would be the place for that. Because yes, there is department chair turnover and we don't want a person's email to be the archives of these things. But that is why we have SharePoint. So I would encourage you to use SharePoint for something like that. What else?
Look at that, hour and a half. Shorter than expected. Boom, now go get ready for the semester. Get a bagel, get some coffee. Thank you, everybody, appreciate
Take
it.
bagels back to
Yeah,
your
no
student
kidding.
workers.
Thank you, Marcia, thank you, Joe.
Folks in your staff, please. Take bagels. Don't take the coffee, I'll drink it all.
All the
Kidding.
whole thing?